I'm Tom. I'm AI Operations Lead at BuildPass. Difficult to describe what that role is before Adam gave his talk, but really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make every non-technical or non-developer person in the company, I'm trying to make them Adam. I'm trying to say everything you do that isn't one-to-one with a customer, if you're not selling, if you're not talking to them, if you're not replying to an email, you're not helping with the product, how can you use an agent, a workflow, a skill to do that? And I'm here with Fraser, so there's two of us in the AI Ops team. Everyone's basically sick of us walking around the office and going, that should be a skill. That can be something an agent can do, or not, and knowing when to reel it in as well. But today, and I'm going to go rogue and just share my whole screen, so if I get a text from my wife, it's just going to pop up straight away. I want to talk about some of the other part of my work I do, which is not the AI enablement, but it's about how we think about buy versus build, now that AI makes it very easy to build high-quality software very quickly, in my opinion. And if there's any SoftBank fans in the audience, anyone? So I've just done 6 months at BuildPass. I was a cop before this. I did 7 years of Victoria Police. AI was mega banned there. There was no AI. It wasn't even Copilot. Like Copilot was on the edge, right? And then I went to meetups where there were people from BuildPass, and it was the total opposite. It was like, we're just doing everything with AI. We don't care. We're just like the slop cannons are firing. It's brilliant. So I just had my 6 months performance review. I just printed out this image and put it on the desk and said, this is us. Look at the gold coming out of the goose, right? This is the highest performing business function that's ever existed. We're just magnifying everyone. It's all going up. Okay, so what am I talking about today? AI lowers the cost of making software. If you're selling software, that is good. You can make better software faster. That is good. But your competitors can copy your product very quickly, which is bad. And your customers can make their own software and then they don't want to buy what you're selling. And if you're selling software, that's bad. So how does this all net out, right? We can make way better software way faster, we can be way more responsive, but then also like so can everyone else, how does it all work? The markets say it's bad. So I did cherry pick these a little bit, but it's pretty hard to find a public market SaaS stock that hasn't eaten shit in the last 12 months. We're not public, but you might use this just basic intuition and say maybe there's similar risk for solo startups, indie founders, or pre-Series A software companies. So what are we going to do about this at BuildPass? Well, on the positive side, at the margin, it makes more sense for us to build than we buy previously. I want to be clear what I say about the margin. It doesn't mean vibe code Slack, vibe code HubSpot, vibe code everything. It means the very incremental next bit of SaaS you would buy, you should really look hard and see if you need it, right? And then think really carefully about those trade-offs. So we try and be thoughtful. A few things to think about. Can we actually do it? Do you want to support it? Because if you build something internally in your company, I don't know if anyone's ever done that, whether you say it or not, you are now the support person for that thing. And because you sit next to the person and you're like polite to them, they will not hold back. They'll ask for feature requests that like HubSpot will just delete your email if you ask for that, but they'll just turn around in their chair and go, oh, can you build this? And then again thinking, compared to say building more product or fixing things or whatever else, is this actually a good use of our time? Our core competency is not building internal SaaS for us to consume. Our core competency is building construction software for site managers and residential builders and people who have no time because they're building 100 houses a year. So I'm just going to run through a few examples of things we've brought in that have succeeded, things we've tried to bring in that have failed, and hopefully this logic maybe helps you out if you're doing something similar or thinking about your own SaaS spend or your own software company. So first one is Quilla. Quilla is a proposal tool. If you collect payments and you're in the low end, you just collect the payments. As you get higher up in like enterprise, B2B SaaS, there's a lot more complexity. There's like seat, pricing, implementation, all these different things. And then when customers pay like thousands of dollars, they want a customized proposal. They want guarantees about implementation, all this kind of thing. So Quilla was a enterprise proposal generation tool. It cost a lot of money a year, and it was starting to break all the time, wasn't doing what we wanted. So this is sort of the first thing where we said, look, can we just clone this and bring it fully in-house? Your sales team also wants to do all these like weird sneaky discounts to get things over the line, to get their commission, so you want to support like 100 different things at once. And look, basically, I was going to go into a bit of stuff about how we did this, but just imagine what Adam talked about, but for copying a proposal tool, and we built it in a day. And then the long tail was just all the sort of small feature requests. So I'll just give you a quick little example of what it is. This is Quilla. It's like your standard sort of SaaS thing, costs a bunch of money per seat. And then this is like what the customer sees. This is a demo one, but this is our in-house one. So if you have a buy build pass, you get this nice animated thing. It has some details there. You get a PDF with all your sort of guarantees and the terms of service, all that kind of stuff. So lovely. Salespeople love it. But the hard part of this is not the technical part, right? In your organization, you probably have a documents repository like a Notion, or you have a bunch of stuff written down. That's not actually the knowledge. It's a bunch of knowledge in people's brains that isn't written down anywhere. And you need to get it out. And you don't actually know what it is because you don't do their job. Like, I don't sell software. I'm not an SDR or an AE. So you have to be a bit creative in how you do that. So what I came up with for this, which I think was really useful, was I got our highest performing salesman, who is a real yapper, loves to talk. Sales guys love to talk. And I said, you're just going to record yourself using this thing for like 10 to 15 minutes, right? And then I take that recording, so I've got that 15-minute screen recording of his, transcribe it with OpenAI, with an API key, say to FFmpeg and Claude Code, go through this. Every time he mentions a feature, you're going to screenshot that. So I have a folder with screenshots, all this transcript, and then we have a browser agent log into their product, which I'll show you now. So you literally just get the Claude Code browser, log into the product and say, browse through this product and document all the features. So now you have basically your PID, right? You have all the features that could possibly exist in the product and all the features that your internal customers actually use. The other thing you can do in this case is get like a test suite of all your previous use cases. So then when you build this thing, you can like test it end to end and say, look, every deal we've ever done can now be done in this new tool. So it can't be that bad. That was probably the biggest one. Another one, Webflow. Again, Webflow is like a hosting like a CMS for doing your own thing. So like non-technical people can do web design. It's way easier now to just talk to the computer if you're using Claude Code and some skills, or Codex and you have some design skills, or Claude Design. It's way faster and easier, in my opinion, to do static marketing sites just by like yelling at the computer until it's right, until the divs are aligned. The days of editing this are over. And using a CMS, like CMSs are horrendous. They're really slow. The output often has really poor performance. Often Webflow sites have really poor performance. We got about the average like first paint was like 5 or 6 seconds on some of our Webflow pages. Now with Next.js, it's like really highly performant. It gets like 100 Lighthouse score. And our, again, Amy, who's not non-technical, really great, really high agency, it's easy enough now that anyone can learn this stuff. She would come over to my desk and be like, what's a branch? What's a commit? What am I doing? I'm like, you can just ask Claude to teach it to you and you'll get there. And she did. And now, like our new marketing pages, she just vibe codes them all and they're great. Third one, Slackbot's a little bit old hat now, but we had this great Slackbot provider that was sort of before Claude Tag and all this other stuff. It integrated really with a bunch of great stuff. They stopped providing it one day, they just turned it off. And they said now they do this, they do Habbo Hotel for work. So you can like play video games at work and not do your job. And then like instead of meeting someone, you walk your Habbo man over to their thing and like talk to them, and that's how you have a meeting. So anyway, but very nice for us, they just open source the whole thing, right? So then again, we just vibe coded a replacement. This is less about replacing the thing and more the value of having a really good Slack environment, because again, thinking of like the stuff that lives in people's head, a lot of that stuff lives in Slack. So we have this bot, Mordib, here. He gets dozens of DMs a day. And when people DM the bot, it's stuff they're too embarrassed to talk about in public Slack. So that's like the best information you have on what new hires are going to find confusing when they join your company. So for every single one of those, there's something in the new hire onboarding process that you're not doing right, because they're too embarrassed to ask anyone. Well, not too embarrassed, but they're asking in private because they don't want to say, how do I do this basic thing, right? So you can sort of like, over time, you should get less and less of those, right? You should be using that information to improve it. But Claude Tag came out like in the last couple of days. We've been playing around with that. It's way better than I think it's way better than our implementation, so we might just switch to that. Some examples that didn't go well, we tried doing lead generation enrichment. If you're in sales or anything about lead generation, it's not my area of expertise, but we basically found is really hard to outperform or even perform equally as well as like paid lead generation services. My sort of thinking was, it's all public information. I can use Excel or Google search or whatever it is, I can scrape it all. And then there's a really slow feedback loop, because in order to test the quality of your leads, you've got to give that lead pool to your sales team and then test it against their other lead pool. And it probably takes a couple of weeks to realize that these leads are less promising than these leads. And then to figure out why that's the case, you need to sort of go back and look, and then you don't know how the good bucket was generated. Ended up being a big waste of time. So I recommend not trying to do that. And when I sort of think about it, it's because the technology to generate a lead from Google is not the hard thing. The hard thing is like the secret data you don't have access to, that Apollo and Firmable and all these companies pay big money for. Personal agents, another one. The idea is of personal agent is that everyone in the company, there's 60 employees, they all have their own Slack bot identity thing, really fun idea. Everyone plays them for a few days, and then it's really annoying because it's like, am I talking to Adam's bot or Adam? It says it did something to his calendar, did it? And it's like, why don't we just talk to the person we want to do again? And then we have the category of things that I just don't want to touch. I don't want to do payments processing or infrastructure. Happy to pay a lot of money to never have to think about these things or worry about them or worry that they fall over. When you look at the strategy that these people are going for, or what I think they're doing, is that they're trying to bring more and more stuff in. So if you subscribe to Vercel's marketing emails or HubSpot or PostDog, it's like every week they enter a new line of business. Like Vercel, you can buy, it used to be just like front-end web hosting. Now they sell tokens, databases, sandboxes, you run your agents there, Docker support, everything. So I think the strategy is like a smaller number of higher value tools, and they're all sort of trying to be the all-in-one. PostDog falls in this bucket. So it sort of leads me to my second half. What's going to happen to our SaaS, right? And I'm without prognosticating, I don't know the future of what's going to happen, but I have a couple of thoughts, right, based on what I see. If you want to succeed, you've really got to expand your product and target market, because the bottom of the market is going to disappear a little bit. And that sort of feeds to our role of our enablement. We need to enable a team that can move and ship and build things really, really quickly and be really responsive to customer demand. And we need to have really way less ego about our existing product. We might find that some product that we relied on really heavily as a sales generator is just no longer as valuable anymore because it's something that people can do with Claude or whatever. A question people often say, or I see this meme online or on Twitter or in the group chats or whatever, they're like, no one's actually doing this. No one's vibe coding X. They really are. I'm a big fan of like getting into the bottom layer of the data. I like listening to our sales calls, reading our sales calls transcripts reliably a couple of times a week. We fail to close deals because we're talking to someone at the low end in construction, and they have vibe. They're not technical at all. They're a builder, a carpenter, or whatever. They have built their own thing with vibe coding tool of choice, often a full stack app. They're happy to show you, and it does some subset of what our product does that's good enough for them because they only do 4 or 5 houses a year. And I don't think that's going to slow down or go backwards. I think it's going to get better. Like I probably think in the next 6 to 12 months, Anthropic and OpenAI will probably release some service that's like Claude now does full stack apps. You just talk to it and it does a database and it does everything else, and it'll maintain it all for you. I think that is going to continue to happen. The other one is sometimes people get a free demo and then they just tell you, they just use the demo to copy parts of your app because they were wondering how to do it in their own thing. And again, you can't really stop that. You can't really worry too much about, I won't say you can't worry about intellectual property, but things that you would consider highly, a really strong moat are no longer a really strong moat. Because if you ask Codex, how would I architect a web app that handles hundreds of gigabytes of PDF transfers every day, and it's like, how do I have a global CDN? It will give you a pretty good answer. So that sort of institutional knowledge is sort of disappearing or becoming less valuable. I'm not going to actually make you show this short, but I just to like convey the point of this. This is you don't need to like watch this to see, but you can get the picture from like looking at this guy, right? He's like vertically filming his screen, and there's like some like document prompt thing you copy, and then you go here, and this is like obviously vibe coded, and you like pay $100 per estimate or whatever. But people on the phone who would have previously bought our product in some cases are buying from him. So he's got a very successful side business doing a very small, narrow vibe coded niche that's like the bottom of our industry, and good luck to him. So I think the pattern to succeed might be that everything should be an all-in-one platform. So Vercel, Cursor Linear, as like I said, subscribe to their marketing emails. Everything is like an all-in-one now. In Contech as well, if you don't follow it, similar things are happening. We're coming out with a pre-construction finance estimating part of the platform. We sort of see that our competitors are doing the same thing. They're expanding and trying to just eat more and more and more of it. So the other thing is you want to be the platform, and you also want to give your product MCP or CLI or API surface so that an agent can drive it and be aggressive about it. So it's not just human users you're catering to, it's agent users. And Build Pass, you can do that. We have an MCP. Anything that a human is authenticated to do in the app, the agent can do. So again, if people want to, they can drive the whole thing from Claude. So they don't need to log into our app to be great users, but they're using us as the system of record and the trust, and we're solving complex problems for them, but they're just going to drive it via their agent. So now I just want to talk about, nothing to do with Build Pass, but I've been really obsessed with this AI stuff for quite a while. As I said, I was at VicBol, had a very cruisy government job where I didn't have to do a whole lot of work, but I was having so much fun playing around with AI in my spare time, and I've just been using this stuff and building stuff and wanted to be able to solve real problems. So that's why I left and joined a startup. So a few theories. I think you can bet strongly on models getting better, faster, and cheaper. So Sonnet 5 came out today, roughly opens quality at half the price. OpenAI have this blog post. They've got this model that they're not allowed to release because the US government says it's too powerful. But once they do that, they've said it's going to, and this is from their blog post, it's going to run, in some cases, it's 750 tokens a second and be be smarter and more capable than their current best model. So this is really, if you don't see a visualization, it's really hard to get how fast and smart that is. So I'll do it one later, but I just want to paint one sort of negative scenario. And I'll not say that I believe in this, but you should sort of have maybe buckets of beliefs. And this is like my 20 or 30% true chance of bucket, which is that humans are really biased towards stories where they're the main character and they have some agency and some role to play. So if you're building and selling software, you're not going to be very receptive to a story where it's like, literally nothing you do matters, because the labs are just going to roll over the top of you with a way smarter model sometime in the next 1 to 5 years. And no matter how good a bit of product you buy, Claude 9 is just going to do it out of the box. Now, I'm not saying I think that's true, but you shouldn't say it's not possible. So the two stories are, AI came along, we pivoted, we adjusted our strategy, and we still won, versus we delayed irrelevance by 6 months with a sidebar chat widget, but nothing would have done or nothing could have mattered. So let's plan for the future we can actually affect, but let's just not totally avoid that. And in case you think that's just like a totally wild perspective, Dario published this great essay, which I encourage everyone to read, and it's very positive and very optimistic, but the public view of the most profitable company, the fastest growing revenue rate company to ever exist, that makes arguably the best models, their view is that's how it's going to be. It's going to roll over everything. So I hope they're wrong. I think they are wrong, but they might not be, and we should assume that they're saying that it would be an odd strategy to just like deliberately lie when you've got $1 trillion company on the line. You may as well just say what you really think and what you're trying to really build. And you're dealing with the US government and all this kind of stuff. So again, I think they do actually think that's going to happen, and we should at least consider that it may. So on the 750 tokens a second thing, it's really alarming unless you see it. So this is going to run at 750 tokens a second. It's not GPT 4.6, which is out yet. It's just an open source Chinese model from a few months ago. But it'll give you a bit of a sense of how fast these things are. And then just imagine this, but a lot smarter and doing a lot more capable things, right? So let's go a Kanban board with 3 columns and draggable cards, and every time you do something, 100 goose emojis fly across the screen. So it's really fast. It's a lot faster than I can type, and I demoed this a few times. Usually it works. So hopefully, oh, there's no goose emojis. It's just a half decent Kanban thing. Let's try again. There we go. So that's it. All right. So I mean, in the old days, when someone wanted a wild goose emoji Kanban thing, that was like weeks of work. Anyway, I take the point that this is just like slop, right? This is just like front-end app. But again, the claim is that in a month or two, when the more powerful front-end model comes out that's better than 5.5 or Opus 4.8, it will run at this speed. They just put that in the blog post. I have no reason to disbelieve them. So then I was like, how can I simulate the smarter thing before it comes out? in one prompt. So I can't do one prompt, but what I could do is use the current smartest model and do like a few prompts and spend like half an hour on it, and then just say, imagine that happened in 10 seconds. So that's what I'm going to do. Adam, lock the doors. We're doing deathmatch. So I just pulled all the names of everyone here off Luma. That's Aaron, that's my boss. Amanda, Claire, Karina, Fraser, whatever it is. And I just said clone Fall Guys. Hopefully this will be fun. And the idea also was this the content of the talk is bad, but you have this like TikTok visual spectacular at the end. People are going to be like, well, that was all right. So the camera controls are a bit wonky, but other than that, it's not bad. So let's see. And there is a prize for first place. You get to leave. If no one's actually played Fall Guys, this is basically a game. They always get tricked by the falling panels. Oh. There's a PlayStation game that was very similar. This was popular for a while. Unlucky. Tensorfish snuck through. Is that someone's actual name or someone that's here? Oh, there you go. Well, congratulations. You can have the gas mask. Everyone else. Look, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's it. Again, I'm happy to take questions on anything. I just pretty much was like, there's so many things I sort of do and think about, and then there's so many different aspects of the business we touch, and then there's so many different things that happen. I'll just throw out my thoughts of the week, and then hopefully it all has a coherent thread. But I don't know if anyone has any questions. Yes?
When you talk about sort of AI enablement and teaching others to build agents and so forth, how do you approach teaching them when to use human judgment over AI?
Good question. I think the thing is to have like smart colleagues who are competent and already good at their job, and they know what good output is like. So then in the first time they, say they're doing support tickets, but we have a very complex product. So some of our support tickets are genuinely really hard. And they see the AI output and they see the support ticket they would write, they know pretty much straight away if it's going to be any good. I would say if you're good at your job and you care about what you do, it's going to be really obvious if the AI output is good or not. And I think you can definitely tell when someone doesn't care, because you get like this really long Slack message that's like dot points and M dashes and it's like all garbage. And you can tell when someone does care because they've done that, they've used that to find extra stuff and done the research. I think the answer is just like hire and work with people who care about their job. That's most of it. In terms of like the enablement and training, I would say that it takes more training than you would expect and more first principles training, because people are just, if you're not a nerd or you're not a developer, without being too arrogant about it, they're very confusing, weird tools, right? So people sort of say like, when I talk to the Slack bot, is that training the AI? Well, it's not training the AI, right? We know that. It's the context window that's ephemeral and it gets logged, but it's not training the AI. But how do you explain that to someone when there's like a memory system, or we do use the logs to improve the prompt, but that's totally different to training the model. That's just putting something in front of it. So we ran organization-wide training sessions, and we just sort of started from first principles. The thing predicts tokens. It has a context window. We can inject a prompt. It has tools. All that kind of stuff, yeah.